I'm going to show you an outrageous opening idea that was played by Nihal Sarin against Zhansaya Abdumalik. The game started with 1 e4. This was played in the 6th round of the Fagernes Open in Norway. c5, knight f3, knight c6, all good, all normal, open Sicilian. And now you would expect Nihal may go d6, classical, e5, Sveshnikov, and or g6 accelerated dragon, but Nihal comes up with h5. Now this is a move that is not Nihal's new idea as such. There are 70 games that have been played in this position. The grandmaster who can be attributed to making this move popular is Arvind Chidambaram. He has played many games with this, but he has always played it in online chess. Maybe one in national championship, but that was against a 2000 rated player. I think this might be the first game where Nihal has played it in a very serious event. And okay, Pragnananda has also played it. Arjun Kalyan has also played it. So a lot of Indian players have gone for it. Uh, I mean, it looks like an error somewhere because you are weakening your g5 square. But then in the Najdorf, many times you have this move h5 stopping g4 ideas. Now that g4 move is becoming more and more popular in many lines, this is interesting. But still, it is something that would surprise players. h3 was played, and now g6 by Nihal. I think one of the reasons why Nihal chose this also was because Zhansaya is excellent at opening preparation, and he didn't want to fall for her any of her opening prep. So that's the reason why he came up with this idea, which might be on paper not the best. The engines say that white already has an advantage of 1.4, which is almost a decisive edge. But Nihal says, let's have a game on the board. I think one of the reasons why it's such a big advantage to white is because, let's say, in a line like this, bishop e3, bishop g7, bishop c4, castles, bishop b3, d6. What I did is I made all the natural moves. And now f4, rook c8 and f5. And you will see that this pawn, if it was back here, f4, f5 is not very powerful. But with the pawn having moved up, now suddenly this threat on this diagonal becomes very serious, and you don't want to be taking and weakening your king. But Zhansaya chose a more direct approach. She said, I'll take on c6, b takes c6, and then push e5. And this started to she thought was a very active way to play. Nihal had to go back, bishop c4, bishop g7, f4, and d6. Castles, castles. So you will see that black has completed his development. Okay, the knight is not so well placed, but if you were to take, the knight will come back on this square. And if you don't take, then at the same time, there are always threats of taking on e5 and weakening this pawn. So castles, bishop e3 was played, a5. Again, if you take, then at the end you can't win the e5 pawn. There's always problems with the f7 pawn. So Nihal keeps his patience. He plays a5, rook f2, rook b8, bishop b3. There was also another possibility to play queen e2 and let black take and then trap the rook. A very typical idea. de, rook d1, queen c7, and bishop c1. The position is interesting, maybe slightly better for black, for white. But okay, Zhansaya played bishop b3, queen c7, queen f1. You will see that she is indirectly protecting her e5 pawn by putting pressure on f7 here. So when you take, the f file opens up. h4, bishop d4, bishop to f5, rook e1, rook d8, a3, and now rook c8 was played. Knight d1, de, bishop e5, And now a good move by Nihal. Can you find it? Black to play. Yes, the move is queen a7. And notice how Nihal doesn't take first and then play it because of e6 ideas. So he directly plays queen a7, pins this rook here, knight e3 and e6, a4, which was not the best move, and now knight f6. And you will see that black has got everything that he wanted. All his pieces are actively positioned, rook on the open file, the queen on the long diagonal, and this is turning into a winning position. c3, and now black to play. What would you do? Okay, a very natural move here is rook d2, but white can survive with rook e2. So Nihal finds a very cool move, rook b8. If the bishop moves, then the b2 pawn is hanging because the rook is pinned here. So queen c4, and now black to play. What should black do? Important moment in the game. Right, if you fell for rook d2, you would lose the game instead of winning, because now after queen f7 check takes another check, and then you lose this pin here, so you're going to lose the rook on d2. So it's important to start off with rook takes b3, exchange sacrifice, queen takes b3, rook d2, had to play rook f1, and now another important move. This bishop has to come and attack down the long diagonal. So bishop e7, very cool move. You can't move the king because you lose the rook. So you have to bring your queen in. But when you do that, you are kind of tied up completely because the king can't move. If the king can't move, the rook can't move. If the rook can't move, the other rook can't move. If the other rook can't move, then the queen can't move. So rook takes b2, g3, h takes, queen takes, bishop f2, and queen d4. And at this point, Zhansaya Abdumalik resigned because she is losing many of her pawns. All are weak, and Nihal is already pawn up, and this is winning for him. So with this victory, Nihal Sarin manages to catch up the leaders in the tournament. These are the standings after round 6. We have Arjun Erigesi at the top with 4.5. With him are a total of 11 players. That's a huge number. Nihal is there. There is also Aryan Chopra. There is also Sashikiran Krishnan. So 4 Indians out of 11 in the lead with 3 more rounds to go. This promises to be a very exciting finish at the Fagernes Open 2022. And we'll keep an eye on this event. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.